Welcome to part 2 of Champion Presents Migrating or Windows 10 Adoption Leveraging BigFix. Hopefully you've seen the previous video, which kind of gave you an overview of what we're doing with BigFix product to help you migrate to Windows 10, switching to 64-bit and UEFI mode for secure operating systems. With that, we're going to start walking through the console and taking a look at how we achieve this. When we started this, we created a couple automatic groups. We created one for each of the different vendors we were dealing with, and then a master Windows 10 migration group, which is a combination of all the different groups. We did this to separate the vendors so that we could place different constraints on the groups of systems that got in there based on BIOS and systems that we tested with in models. And if we go down and look at, we created 3 custom sites. The Windows 10 migration site, of course, just has any computer that fits inside that Windows 10 master group. And in there is a simple set of tasks, which is to capture the user state, which we modified the original BigFix one, basically making this location aware. We also have the 2 pieces to force a network boot or to deploy a profile to bare metal targets, which we'll cover a little bit more in the demo side. But this helps us target our systems and make sure they're running the proper profile. You could also just force a network boot. But again, if you did that, you'd have to make sure your WIM file was set to auto-deploy, which you'd have to be careful with, that if people did so, it auto-deployed and maybe wiped out an existing system you didn't intend to target. Inside of this custom site, we did create a dashboard, which we basically kind of borrowed from the BigFix Labs Windows 7 migration kit. We modified this dashboard to give us information to help us in our journey towards the Windows 10 system. So slightly modified, but it works just like the BigFix Labs of the Windows 7 migration toolkit. The next custom site that we created was called the Post-Win 10 migration site. If we notice all computer names that contain PW10-. We did this to drive computers that were just imaged, because our bare metal profile is basically using this as a prefix to the host name and also adding their serial number to it. So once a machine has been re-imaged with Windows 10, it should drive them into this site. And if we look in here, we have quite a few tasks in here. If we look at the fixlets and tasks, what we're basically doing, and I labeled these as P1 through 9, and then some after tasks. But basically what we're doing is we're tagging the machine. We're going to fetch the inventory data that we spoke about so we can put the software back in place and put the host name back. And we're adding some features for the screensaver, simply to allow us to watch the progress of the machines as the screensaver kicks in, and also change the backdrop. After which we will run the post software and the post user state and reset the host name. That'll pull the machines out of this site and actually make them move along to the next custom site. In here is also where we would place our software files that we want to deploy. So in here, if we notice, we have 3 baselines. The first one is the setup. If we look at the relevancy here, we're going to notice that it's simply true. So all machines that come into the site will be hit on that baseline. The next one will actually deploy the software. And if again we look at this, the client tag is post software, which happened in the first baseline, so then that baseline becomes relevant. And if we look at the components inside of here, we're going to see that basically what we're doing is putting all the different, software piece lines, the baselines. This is where you would put all your software packages that you wanted to put back in that you've packaged up. We did make a slight change to the relevancy here for these software packages. So if we go look at the source and look at the details, the normal software package information is here, but we added a line to each one. It'll be right down here, and notice down here that he is looking basically in the inventory file that we sent back down to the new image box, and is looking for a particular piece of software that's included into what he had before. If it is, that software will be relevant and it'll get installed to the box. And lastly, once we're done that, after, we're simply going to tag the machine to move it along, reset the host name, which again will pull it out of this site, and he'll start moving into the next site. The next custom site that we created was called the final or user state. Then if we notice, we're just checking our Windows 10 status, which we tagged previously. And in here there's going to be 4 fixlets or tasks that we're basically going to be running. We'll set the screensaver back to something normal. Of course, we're going to update the screensaver before that to show that we're in the user state, so if you're watching the machine you can see it. We restore the user state, and once that is complete, we're actually going to then again tag the machine as being completed. And at this point our reports will reflect that, and we'll have a system that is now switched from its old operating system into 64-bit and UEFI mode. We also did create a custom report, as you see here. It has the machine names with their serial number on them, their actual computer name, because we need to be able to restore that. And we have the serial number so I can identify the new machine. Also on there is going to be all the software. Again, this is using basic web reports to do this. And we were able to create this report and actually then have it archived off. From there, we also created a custom batch file that basically stripped and formatted this report and put it in a location that we can then send to the newly imaged machines when we sent that inventory file format down. We actually only need to run this about once a day. And again, the important thing is down at the bottom here is where we're taking a custom action, and we created our custom batch file to be able to format, strip out that report, and place it in a directory that we can then use software distribution to automatically download it to the newly imaged machines so that we can replace their software and actually set the host name back to what it was before. This is ending part 2 of our migration to Windows 10 adoption using BigFix. Please watch part 3 where we'll actually walk through the steps and show you a machine being imaged, and we'll slowly pick apart each of the steps that we just covered here to show you exactly what we did, how the machine walks through the different sites, applies the software, and basically completes our adoption to Windows 10. Thank you for watching.